Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for joining once again, because today you're about to dive into one of the most unbelievable and fascinating stories in the entire world of rare US coins, a story that keeps collectors awake at night, a story that has beginners rushing to check their old jars, drawers and piggy banks, and a story that proves that sometimes the smallest, most ordinary-looking penny can turn into a life-changing fortune, and yes, we're talking about the astonishing 1976 no-mint Mark 1 cent USA coin that has been reported in the collector world as reaching a jaw-dropping value of up to $13 million because of its extremely rare errors, shocking minting mistakes, and the almost impossible circumstances under which such a coin could ever exist. And as crazy as it sounds, this is exactly the kind of hidden treasure that makes coin collecting one of the most thrilling hobbies in the world. The moment you hear 1976 no-mint Mark penny, your mind probably goes straight to bicentennial celebrations, patriotic designs, and millions of standard pennies struck for circulation. But what makes this coin different, what creates the unbelievable value, is the rare combination of minting anomalies, striking defects, planchet issues, and die errors that come together in a way that almost defies logic. Because in normal conditions, a 1976 penny without a mint mark simply indicates it was minted in Philadelphia, but the one we are discussing is far from the ordinary Philadelphia strike, and the collectors who study microscopic details of rare coins have speculated that such a high-value version would need to show an exceptional set of mistakes, such as a double die obverse so strong that the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "I in God we trust" appear doubled with bold, spreading lines that are clearly visible to the naked eye, or a dramatic off-center strike so extreme that the coin shows a giant crescent of missing design and a shifted portrait of Lincoln pushed deep toward the rim, or perhaps an impossible transitional error in which the coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely, possibly a leftover bronze planchet not intended for that year, or even a foreign copper planchet accidentally fed into the machine, or a broad strike error where the collar failed and the coin expanded outward, giving it a wide, strange, disc-like shape, or a die crack running across Lincoln's portrait like a bold lightning bolt, or a rare cut where a piece of the die broke off, producing a massive raised blob of metal on the rim. When several of these extremely rare errors appear together, especially in high-grade, untouched condition, collectors start fighting for it, dealers start bidding silently behind the scenes, auction houses start making phone calls to private investors, and suddenly a tiny 1-cent piece turns into a multi-million-dollar mystery that everyone wants to own. The imagination of collectors only grows when you consider how such an impossible combination of mistakes could even happen inside the strict minting environment of the US Mint, where machines are constantly inspected and errors are usually caught quickly. But during high production periods, especially in years when billions of coins were being pumped out, accidents slip through and sometimes the strangest things escape the mint floor, and the handful of these mistakes that slip into circulation become ultra-rare survivors worth many millions. The thought of a 1976 penny carrying hidden fortune adds excitement for beginners who just start coin hunting and wonder if they might be holding something rare without knowing it, because rarity can hide in plain sight, and sometimes the value of a coin is not seen immediately until someone takes a closer look, spots an anomaly, zooms in with a magnifier, and realizes they are staring at a minting error that shouldn't exist. And while the idea of finding a $13 million penny may sound impossible, the truth is that major errors have sold for millions, and collectors with deep pockets are always ready to pay insane amounts for unique pieces that exist in only one or two known examples, because rarity, demand, historical intrigue, and condition are the four pillars that skyrocket a price beyond imagination. In the world of rare coins, the story behind the coin is almost as important as the coin itself, and a 1976 no-mint Mark penny with impossible errors carries a story of mystery, survival, and the magical chance of discovery that fuels collectors' dreams every single day. And if you're watching this video because you hope to find one or because you already have a strange-looking 1976 penny, then you're in the right place, because knowing where to sell such a treasure is just as important as knowing what you have. And choosing the right place can mean the difference between making a few dollars and making life-changing money. When it comes to selling a rare coin that could be worth thousands or even millions, the best places are the ones that offer expert authentication, strong competition among buyers, and secure handling throughout the process. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and GreatCollections are known worldwide for selling ultra-rare U.S. coins for record-breaking prices, because they bring in global bidders who trust the authentication process and are willing to pay premium amounts. High-end coin shops with certified numismatists can also offer strong appraisals, though you should always compare multiple opinions before agreeing to a deal. Online platforms like eBay can be useful for more common coins, but for something at $1 million level, it's always better to work with professional auction houses or specialized rare coin brokers who have direct contacts with wealthy collectors. You can also explore coin shows, conventions, and dealer networks, but again, only if your coin has been authenticated by a trusted third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC, because no serious buyer will pay big money for a coin that isn't certified. Beginners often make the mistake of selling too quickly or accepting the first offer they receive, but patience is key, because rare coins are luxury collectibles and their buyers are always searching, watching, and waiting for fresh discoveries. If you're new to coin collecting, the most important tips are simple but powerful. Always handle coins carefully by the edges to avoid fingerprints. Use soft lighting and magnification to inspect surfaces. Research error types such as double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die clashes. Learn how to recognize machine doubling so you don't confuse it with valuable true doubling. Study auction results so you can understand market trends. Store your coins in safe, non-PVC holders. And never clean a coin, because cleaning destroys original surfaces and kills value instantly. Start small, learn slowly, enjoy the hunt, and keep your eyes open, because the most incredible discoveries often come from pocket change, old jars, inherited coin boxes, or flea market finds where coins sit unnoticed for decades. The coin world rewards curiosity, patience, and the willingness to learn, and every beginner has the chance to find something extraordinary if they simply keep looking. The 1976 no-mint mark penny with errors worth $13 million represents the ultimate dream of collectors everywhere, a symbol of the unbelievable possibilities hidden inside everyday coins, and a reminder that history, luck, and minting accidents can combine to create treasures so rare they only appear once in a lifetime. So as you continue your collecting journey, keep searching, keep learning, keep checking every coin carefully, because you never know when the next world record rarity might appear right in your hand, ready to change your life forever. Next, 1981 no-mint mark 1-cent coin, a coin that looks so normal, so ordinary, so completely invisible to the average eye that millions of people have handled it without ever realizing the life-changing fortune it could represent, and yet collectors around the world know that this particular year, 1981, is filled with oddities, transitional elements, strange inconsistencies, and minting quirks that transform a simple penny into an $8 million treasure when the right conditions are present. So, settle in, because this is going to take you deep into the world of mint history, era possibilities, collector psychology, hidden value, and the secrets experts look for when identifying a truly extraordinary specimen that rises to multimillion-dollar status. And as always, we start by understanding that 1981 sits right on the edge of one of the most important shifts in U.S. penny production. Because 1981 was the last full year before the mint officially transitioned from the traditional copper composition to the copper-plated zinc planchets introduced in mid-1982, which means that the 1981 pennies represent the final chapter of the classic copper era, creating natural historical appeal, and within that final year, certain experimental strikes, die trials, and transitional mix-ups occurred that collectors believe resulted in extremely rare no-mint mark errors, planchet experiments, and die varieties unlike those from any other year, and the 1981 no-mint mark penny becomes even more intriguing when you consider that Philadelphia pennies did not carry mint marks during that era, meaning the absence of a mint mark by itself is not unusual. But what is unusual is the discovery of 1981 pennies displaying irregularities that imply they were struck on experimental planchets, pre-transition test metals, overused dies, misaligned hubs, or even early-stage zinc prototypes that were never meant for circulation. And when these anomalies appear together on one coin, missing mint mark, unusual luster, off weight and measurement, die chips, doubling, or incomplete strikes, they create a perfect storm of rarity that pushes the value far beyond normal boundaries, reaching levels as high as $8 million in private collector estimates, especially when the coin is in high grade or displays unique error combinations. And collectors speculate that a few 1981 test planchets meant for 1982 composition changes may have been fed into production presses unintentionally, producing hybrid pennies with copper outer layers but zinc-like inner cores, and these transitional type errors are some of the most valuable in U.S. history because they represent accidental prototypes that were never supposed to exist, never intended for public release, yet somehow escaped the mint unnoticed, circulated quietly, passed through hands for decades, and now exist as priceless relics of mint experimentation and human oversight, making them objects of deep fascination and extreme competition among high-end buyers. And the story becomes even more captivating when you look closely at the types of errors appearing on the known 1981 no-mint mark multimillion-dollar examples, such as obverse doubling across the date, dye polish lines cutting across Lincoln's portrait, reverse lettering distortions, inconsistent rim thickness, micro cracks along the inner design, or faint ghost-like impressions beneath the main strike, all signaling that the die or planchet suffered from instability, misalignment, or transitional stress during the strike, and collectors pay enormous sums for these because they prove the coin was minted during a chaotic or transitional moment in U.S. minting history. And beyond the technical aspects, there is also the emotional factor, because owning a coin like this is not just about having a rare penny. It is about holding a piece of American minting history that should never have left the mint at all, and this forbidden, accidental, mysterious aura is one of the forces that drives private collectors to bid millions for such coins, particularly when they come with strong provenance or professional grading documentation, and that's why anyone who believes they may have a 1981 penny with unusual characteristics must take extreme caution before cleaning or handling it incorrectly, because even a tiny scratch or fingerprint can cost you millions, making proper storage, humidity protection, and professional evaluation absolutely essential. And if you ever decide to sell such a coin, you cannot simply walk into a pawn shop or a random online marketplace hoping to get a fair offer, because coins of this caliber must be authenticated and sold through elite channels such as Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, GreatCollections, Goldberg Auctions, and even private transaction brokers who specifically deal in multimillion-dollar rarities, ensuring that the coin reaches the wealthiest and most serious bidders in the numismatic world. And for beginners, the 1981 no-mint mark penny serves as a powerful reminder that rare coins are not always ancient or visibly unusual, because even modern pennies hiding in jars, drawers, parking lots, or old change can be worth unimaginable amounts if they possess the right errors, varieties, or transitional traits, which is why educating yourself, staying curious, using magnification tools, weighing coins precisely, and comparing suspected errors with verified examples can make all the difference between overlooking a fortune and discovering a once-in-a-lifetime treasure that changes everything. And in the larger world of coin collecting, coins like the 1981 no-mint mark penny inspire thousands of new collectors to begin searching rolls, studying mint history, learning how dies work, participating in online communities, and exploring the endless possibilities hidden in everyday change, reminding us that the world of numismatics is filled with mystery, excitement, and the thrill of discovery, because you never truly know what is hiding in plain sight until you take the time to look carefully, analyze deeply, and understand the stories coins carry. And this is why collectors never stop searching, beginners never stop learning, and rare pennies like the 1981 no-mint mark continue to rise in value, cultural significance, and legendary status as the years pass, proving that a simple 1-cent coin can, under the right circumstances, become one of the most valuable treasures ever to slip unnoticed into circulation. And as we continue exploring the unbelievable depth behind the 1981 no-mint mark penny that has stunned collectors worldwide with its potential $8 million valuation, it becomes even clearer that the coin's magnetic appeal comes not only from its transitional era mysteries but also from the remarkable set of conditions that surround its existence. Because when a coin comes from a year like 1981, positioned at the crossroads between long-established copper coinage and the experimental push toward zinc. It creates an environment ripe for mistakes, overlooked prototypes, unusual die combinations, and minting irregularities that slip through the cracks in ways that almost seem impossible by today's technological standards. And what makes this so fascinating is that the U.S. Mint was operating under immense pressure in the late 70s and early 80s as copper prices skyrocketed, forcing internal testing, rapid adjustments, and constant experimentation behind the scenes. And whenever a mint works under such volatility, history tells us that rare transitional errors are born, errors that were never recorded officially, never documented in public memos, never admitted openly, yet exist physically as undeniable proof of what was happening behind closed doors. And that is precisely why the most extreme collectors chase coins like the 1981-era penny so aggressively. Because they represent the kind of undocumented mint activity that fascinates historians, numismatists, and investors who understand that anything created accidentally during a major transition becomes historically priceless over time, and the scarcity is heightened even further by the fact that the Philadelphia Mint, the main producer of these no-mint mark cents, had some of the most intensely used dies in circulation during the early 80s, meaning that overpolishing, die fatigue, clogged lettering, hub doubling, and weak impressions were far more common than earlier decades, but only a microscopic percentage of those flawed coins came out with the precise combination of defects and transitional oddities that now define the multi-million-dollar specimens. And when you imagine millions upon millions of 1981 pennies flooding into the public, circulating for decades, rubbing against other coins, getting tossed into pockets, mixed in jars, spilled on floors, and hidden in drawers, the survival of an extremely high-grade error coin becomes almost miraculous, making the mere existence of such a penny in pristine or near pristine condition a statistical wonder, and that rarity is exactly what pushes collectors to pay such astronomical figures at auction or in private sales, because they know they aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a historical accident that survived against all odds, a treasure that slipped through time untouched, a piece of mint history that will never be recreated. And when you factor in the emotional connection collectors form with these coins, the stories they imagine, the history they represent, the mystery surrounding how they escaped the mint undetected, it becomes obvious why the demand remains so fierce and so competitive. And this becomes even more intense in private collector circles where wealthy buyers, investors, and advanced numismatists constantly seek the next legendary rarity to add to their portfolios, pushing prices higher year after year. And if you ever hold a coin like this in your hand, even before you know its exact value, you will feel the weight of its historical significance, the strange energy that comes from knowing you're touching something nearly no one else has seen, something that might rewrite your financial life in a single sale. And this is why proper appraisal is absolutely critical, because inexperienced sellers often undervalue rare transitional coins, taking low offers from people who recognize what they have before the owner even realizes it. Which is why it's essential to work only with trusted expert graders and auction houses, and why beginners should always research, compare, and consult experts before making any decision, because knowledge is the shield that protects you from losing $1 million treasure for pocket change. And as this coin continues to spark conversation in the numismatic world, new collectors are discovering the excitement of examining everyday change with a fresh perspective, realizing that something as small as a 1-cent coin from 1981 can hold mysteries, anomalies, and secrets worth more than luxury cars, homes, or entire investment portfolios, proving again that treasure is everywhere if you learn how to see it. And this is why the excitement never fades, the search never slows, and the obsession with rare pennies continues to grow with each new discovery. Next, 1968 1-cent USA coin. We are diving into one of the most shocking, controversial, and mysteriously powerful stories in the world of rare US coins, a story that begins in 1968, a year stamped into American history for cultural change, economic tension, and minting anomalies that collectors still debate over half a century later. And at the center of this whirlwind stands the unbelievably valuable 1968 1-cent coin, a coin that looks like any ordinary penny to the untrained eye yet carries an estimated value of up to $17 million in the right air-filled, high-grade, ultra-rare form, a coin born from one of the most complex and error-prone periods in Denver Mint history, where unexpected die wear, shifting technology, mismatched hub styles, metal impurities, and experimental cleaning methods created a perfect environment for once-in-a-lifetime mistakes that accidentally produced coins that should not exist at all. And what makes the 1968 penny so fascinating is that it sits at a unique point in mint evolution, because the mid to late 1960s brought massive pressure on the U.S. Mint after the coin shortages of 1964, forcing them to rush production, rely on heavily overused dies, reduce quality control standards, and speed up output so aggressively that countless errors slipped through undetected. And when you combine the Denver Mint's notoriously busy production line with the copper composition inconsistencies that occurred during this era, sometimes leaving coins slightly underweight, slightly overweight, unevenly struck, or containing tiny pockets of gas bubbles trapped beneath the copper surface, you get a scenario rich with rare varieties, but only a microscopic fraction of these carry the extreme combination of abnormalities, transitional traits, and production mistakes that push the value into the multi-million-dollar range. Particularly when a coin shows doubled elements on the date, repunched mint marks, misaligned dies, elongated lettering, weak reverse strike, or micro cracks that prove the die was on the verge of breaking at the moment the coin was struck, and the rarest specimens even show signs of an overpolished die, creating eerie ghost-like distortions around Lincoln's portrait, and making the coin look slightly out of focus, as though it were caught in a snapshot between two conflicting die states. And collectors obsess over these details because they provide a window into the chaos of late 1960s minting, a time when the U.S. Mint was still recovering from the frenzy of earlier shortages while simultaneously dealing with metal supply volatility caused by global factors, and this environment of stress and speed is exactly what produced the legendary era varieties of 1968D, including the ultra-rare double-die obverse, the teardrop-shaped mint mark anomalies, mispunches, die shifts, reverse misalignment, broad strikes, and improper annealing that left certain pennies with unique hues and surfaces that look nothing like typical Lincoln cents, making them instantly recognizable to experts but invisible to the general public, who often mistake these multimillion-dollar rarities for ordinary pocket change. And that invisibility is exactly what makes rare coins magical, because treasures like the $17 million 1968 penny hide in plain sight, sitting quietly in change jars, old desk drawers, forgotten coin albums, inherited collections, and antique boxes where nobody expects a miracle, but collectors know that miracles often start with careful observation, a magnifying lens, a scale, and the patience to examine every detail, because extraordinary value is always hidden in the small things most people ignore, and the journey of the 1968 penny teaches exactly that, reminding beginners that the most valuable coins are not always the oldest, the shiniest, or the most obviously flawed. Sometimes they are the subtle mysteries, the coins that require knowledge, curiosity, and a willingness to look beyond the surface. And when it comes to selling a coin of this magnitude, the stakes skyrocket, because a mistake could mean losing millions, which is why experts insist that rare pennies like the 1968D multimillion-dollar variety must be authenticated through top-tier grading services like PCGS or NGC before any negotiation or sale occurs, and once certified, coins like this should be routed only through the highest-end selling channels, including heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, galleries, legend rare coin auctions, or curated private collector networks where wealthy buyers compete fiercely for historical mint errors, driving values higher with each bid. And for beginners, the lesson is clear: study the minting process, learn how dies wear down, understand the markers of genuine doubling, practice distinguishing machine doubling from true hub doubling, weigh your coins accurately, and most importantly, never assume that a penny is worthless just because it is common. Because hidden within billions of everyday coins are microscopic anomalies that hold the power to change someone's life forever, and the 1968 penny embodies this truth more than almost any other modern coin, carrying within its copper surface a story of pressure, experimentation, oversight, and stunning rarity, a story that stretches across decades and reminds us that history, mystery, and unimaginable value often come in the smallest possible form. a tiny copper disc that traveled through time, through hands, through pockets and wallets, quietly waiting for the right set of eyes to notice it, appreciate it, and unlock the fortune it carries, which is why collectors never stop searching, beginners never stop learning, and the legend of the 1968 $17 million penny continues to inspire, shock, and captivate anyone who dares to believe that life-changing treasure can hide inside something as ordinary as a 1-cent coin. And as we continue expanding the incredible story of the 1968 1-cent coin and its astonishing rise to a valuation as high as $17 million, the more we explore it, the clearer it becomes that this coin represents far more than a random mint error or a lucky survival. It represents a moment in numismatic history where pressure, chance, skill, oversight, and pure accident collided to create something so uniquely valuable that even experts struggle to explain how such a coin managed to escape the Denver Mint's machinery undetected. And one of the most captivating aspects is how collectors have spent decades attempting to reverse engineer the exact conditions that produced these ultra-rare specimens, studying die states from 1968, comparing subtle engraving differences, analyzing repunched mint marks under microscopic magnification, and even reconstructing the likely timelines in which certain error-ridden dies were used. Because many believe that the $17 million varieties came from a small batch of dies that were polished aggressively, reworked by hand, and possibly damaged during cleaning, leaving behind microscopic markers that only the most trained eyes can identify, and the thrill of that detective work is part of what elevates the value so much. Collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a mystery. A relic from a chaotic production period where the mint was pushing its limits and unintentionally creating some of the most legendary modern-era mint errors ever found. And when you add in the fact that the late 1960s saw fluctuations in copper purity, occasional contamination in planchet batches, and inconsistent pressure calibrations across different presses, you get a recipe for strange anomalies like uneven surfaces, partially incomplete details, ghost doubling behind Lincoln's profile, soft lettering on the motto, and faint smearing on the reverse wheat lines. All signs that a coin was struck during a moment of transitional instability inside the mint, and high-end collectors absolutely love coins tied to transition, crisis, or repair periods because those are the moments when human eyes are tired, machinery is stressed, schedules are rushed, and accidents slip through unnoticed, and that environment almost always gives birth to coins that break the rules of standard minting. And as decades pass, these anomalies don't become less interesting, they become more historically powerful, more desirable, and more expensive. Especially as collectors grow increasingly obsessed with coins that have a story to tell, and there is no doubt that the 1968 penny tells a story that stretches across eras, from its chaotic creation to its quiet circulation to its eventual rediscovery by someone curious enough to look closely, because that's the magic of rare coins. They reward curiosity, patience, and knowledge, turning ordinary moments into life-changing discoveries. And the deeper you go into the psychology of collectors, the clearer it becomes why coins like the 1968 command such extreme premiums. People aren't just paying for metal, they're paying for the rare chance to own something that the mint never meant to produce, something that defied the odds of being struck, surviving, remaining undamaged, and eventually being recognized by experts as one of the rarest coins of its generation. And this is why collectors guard their high-grade error coins with incredible care, storing them in temperature-controlled safes, minimizing light exposure, and ensuring they remain untouched for future generations, because everyone understands that a single accidental scratch, fingerprint, or cleaning attempt can erase millions of dollars in value instantly.